it's a positive film. It has heroes and villains, and that it essentially is a fun movie to watch. It's been a long time since people have been able to go to the movies and see a sort of straightforward, wholesome, fun adventure.
Well, it's a fantasy. It's not science fiction so much as it is space fantasy. And it's about people. It's finally about people and not finally about science.
The story, when you actually put it into words, is only so much nonsense to hang a great visual experience onto. It's the stuff that fairy tales are made of.
Sort of boiling down religion into a very basic concept. The fact that there is some deity or some power or some force that sort of controls our destiny works for good and also works for evil.
Marvellous, healthy innocence. Great pace, wonderful to look at, full of guts, nothing unpleasant. I mean, people go bang bang and people fall over and are dead, but no horrors. A sort of wonderful freshness about it, kind of like a wonderful fresh air.
It's got whatever you want it to be. It's pure entertainment. It's like a roller coaster ride, and it can be interpreted as long as you enjoy it, which is the intention.
Well, blimey, it's been ages. Welcome back to Generation Skywalker and the very latest episode of Those Old Fossils, where a group of, let's say, 40-something gentlemen and myself will be covering, reminiscing and coveting the original vintage Star Wars line. Now, Stu can't make it this week. He's got some things which he needs to take care of from a family point of view, and we're really hoping to be able to speak with Stu in the very near future. And we and ahed about recording, but Stu insisted that he wanted us to get on and get this done. It's going to feel a bit different. It's going to be different for all of us because Stu's the anchor. I said anchor. He's the anchor. He's the glue. One might say he's the midichlorians which hold this whole thing together. And but he's got confidence that we're gonna be okay. And who's we? Who am I joined with? It's the usual old fossils. So I'm here tonight with Craig Spivey.
Hello.
How you doing, Craig?
I'm doing good. We'll be fine, Jez. We'll smash it.
We will. We'll be all right. And also bringing us along, we've got Mark Daniels. Good evening.
Good evening.
How's it going?
Very good, thank you, mate.
Brilliant. Excellent. First class. And also, amongst the very, very worthy, straight in there, smashing it off the park in the modern, is Dan Burgess joining us in the vintage with books. Dan's just like, the premier podcaster now in Generation Skywalker. Dan, how the devil?
That's a bit of an intro, isn't it? Yeah, very good, thank you.
Excellent. Lads, we're surrounded with, turbulent times. It's all a bit sort of down and dark and stuff on the news at the moment, and I just thought to myself, right, I want a little bit of positivity out there. I want some good stuff, some positive energy to listen to. So straight off the bat, Stu has given us his guidelines. Stu's told us, right, this is what we're going to do, and put the notes together. And immediately, straight off the bat, I'm going to go rogue and just push those to one side just for a second. Right, I'm going to keep you guys on your toes. So, Mark, I'm going to come straight to you, mate. How vintage are you feeling at the moment?
How vintage am I feeling?
Yeah.
I've been vintage since 1989, mate.
Brilliant,
so
right.
It never sort of diminishes. It's a constant.
Right. Okay. So exactly the right person to be here. All about the vintage. Dan, how vintage are you feeling?
Like a 5-year-old on Christmas Day in 1983.
Interesting. I wondered where that was going for a second. So no, that's excellent. First class. And Craig, mate, are you all up for this?
I'm so vintage it hurts.
Oh, perfect. It sounds like we are the trifecta of vintage excellence and me. So, what else? Right. So what I want to do now is find out, just to get us in the mood, Mark, tell me your best vintage collecting moment so far.
What? Ever?
Yeah.
Oh, crikey. Oh, man, that's a really, really tough one.
Yeah. I said I was going to go Rogue.
Oh, mate, there's so many. There are so many.
Okay. All right. What I'm going to do, go on.
I'll tell you what I will do. I will tell you one of the best items that I ever found, which was, and I'm looking at my collection right now, and it's got to be the mallow-shaped Star Wars box. That's my my favourite vintage weight, and that was a few years ago, and I managed to buy it on eBay, and it was on a Tuesday afternoon. I was just about to go and pick my son up from school, and I was like, I'll have a quick look on eBay, see what's been newly listed. And there it was. Buy it now, $19.99.
Mate.
It was one of those moments where you read the description, you think, is this a repro? Somebody done a repro of that box? And it wasn't. It was the original box. And when, I bought it, obviously, and when it arrived, I opened it up, and inside there was a little piece of cardboard, and it was face down, so it looked blank. I thought, ooh, bit of loose cardboard. I wonder if there's a wrapper underneath. And it wasn't. I opened it and lifted the cardboard up, and it was the header part of the box. So when you put the box together, you put the header at the back, and it makes a display counter. And I'm absolutely over the moon, and the best 20 quid I've ever spent.
Oh, mate, what an absolute result. Right, well, have to post images of that. Yeah, I remember that. And, no, mate, we were all dead chuffed for you there. Oh, great stuff. Right, Craig, I'm going to come to you. Our Star Wars collecting community phenomenon. What's your best, most defining moment? So not something which you've necessarily purchased, but in all of your collecting, over the years, what's your fondest memory?
I know I've talked about this and we've talked about this at length, but the whole journey from doing the Collecting Track Helix presentation to working on the resurgence of that line,
of course, yeah.
Every single level. And for listeners who aren't familiar with that story, check out show number 6. But yeah, I mean, right from just hooking up with Grant and Mark and realising that there were guys out there who got as excited about this stuff as I did. And then where that took us. Fabulous, fabulous experience. Not about finding things in charity shops, not about deal of the century, just about community and about making friends. It was great.
Perfect. Mate, that's ace. And Dan, I'm going to come to you, mate. What if someone said to you, what are you most thankful for in the whole Star Wars collecting world and this community that we're all part of now? What are you most thankful for?
I think it's for people that put on the events like Dave Tree at Farthest From. I think that's added so much to the texture of the community with everything being online nowadays. And celebrations are great, but only come around once so often. But having a regular event, COVID lockdowns not obviously not allowing, but other than that, we all get to meet up 2 or 3 times a year and have a good drink and talk Star Wars.
Absolutely, the texture of the community, how beautiful! I love that. Right, guys. Here we go. Absolute icebreaker now. And as I said, we are going to follow the show notes. Don't worry. Oh my God, Jez gone rogue. Right. Now, I've done this before. I've put this out on forums before just as a quick sort of 5-minute speed test. Or I've even done this with folk in queues at Celebration. We are going to have alphabetical word association game where we're going to go from A through to Z, Star Wars figures or creatures. All right, so we're going to start off with A and go all the way through. Each one of you will have a life, just in case you get stumped, because there are a couple in there which we all might struggle to come up with something. So that's it. That's the rules. Now I'm going to look at this and think, right, who am I going to go with first of all? So I'm going to go with Craig first of all. So Craig starts off with A.
A man.
A man. Interesting. Yeah, okay. You could have had AT-AT, driver, AT-AT commander, Admiral Akbar, A-wing pilot, or Anakin. So a man. Nice. Okay, like it. B. Dan.
Bosk.
Oh, Bosk. Okay, yeah, straight in there. All right, so you could have gone Fett, could have gone Boba Fett, Barada, Bib Fortune, Biker Scout, all the best been security guards. B-wing pilot, Ben Kenobi. Goodness me, there are a lot. Right, Mark. Straight over to you. Guys, remember your order as well, because I won't be able to. Mark, your next mate was C.
C-3PO.
C-3PO, boom, straight in there, yeah. Okay, could have gone with Twin Pod in brackets. Cloud Car Pilot, I guess. Chief Chirper, C-3PO. Yeah, not many C's. Right, starting again then. D.
Dengar,
yeah. See, that's funny. Dengar's always the first one which I think of, but obviously the most obvious one, I guess, would be Darth Vader. But Death Squad Commander, Death Star Droids, but yeah, Dengar, boom, straight in there. Go on then, Dan. E.
EV-99.
Nice. Yes or no will do. Yeah, so with that, or Emperor's Royal Guard, if someone had said the Emperor, well, that's it. It's got a "the" in front of it. No more clues. Right, moving on to F.
Falcon, as in Millennium.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. I did say figures or creatures, but I'll give you the Falcon, mate, because let's face it, she's alive, isn't she? Here you go. Fun fact for you, right? Completely off the beaten track. Yeah, you know what they say in, I think, Rogue One, right? Falcon is alive, and it was L3, wasn't it? L3 then became part of the Falcon's navicomputer, yeah? You guys with me?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Solo, wasn't it?
Sorry? Oh, yes,
Solo.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well corrected. It just shows how excited I am. I'm getting my facts mixed up. So this, I was just mulling stuff over in my head, like in my little sort of, in my little special place. And when they said that L3 was part of the Falcon, I was like, yeah, that's absolutely right, because there are 3 L's in Millennium Falcon.
Oh.
Mind blown.
Oh, man. I've got that meme of the guy with the head exploding going through my head right now.
Yeah. I don't know where it comes from, guys. It's crazy stuff. Anyway, right, I'm digressing. Let's move on. So there we go. That was Falcon. Yeah, FX7. Yeah, that was the only other one, really, apart from Fett, but his name's Boba, so it wouldn't have worked. Right, G, moving on. Who's next? I've lost track.
Me, Greedo.
Brilliant. Straight in there. Greedo, General Madine, Gamgard. Nice. H, next one.
Han Solo, Bespin Fatigues.
Nice. I like the specifics. Yeah, I mean, it could have only been Han, couldn't it? Or Hammerhead. Right, there you go, Dan. How many hands are there?
4. 5.
Well done. Right, moving on. Okay, I.
IG-88 or IG-11.
Yeah, sweet, nice one. Yeah, IG-88, Imperial Gunner, Imperial Snowtrooper, Imperial Dignitary, Imperial Commander, but IG-88 leading the field, definitely. Right then, J.
Jabba.
Oh, yeah, okay, fair one. Yeah, Jabba, because the only other figure was Jawa. Yeah, nice one. K.
Klaatu.
Yeah, so moving on. Next one, L.
It's got to be Luke Skywalker.
Yes, absolutely, Mark, absolutely. Luke Skywalker, Lobot, Lando, Leia, Lumat, Logray. But there you go, Mark. How many Lukes were there?
What, in the vintage
Yeah.
one? 6?
Craig? How many Lukes were there?
I guess at 7, but I haven't counted them.
7. There were 7 Lukes. It's crazy, isn't it? 7 Lukes, 5 Leias, 5 Hans. So yeah, 7 Lukes. Right, crazy. Right, moving on. M. What we got for M?
Madine.
Yeah, I'll let you have that, because I was starting to struggle. I was like, Max Rebo. Yeah, Madine. We'll give you Madine, definitely. Right, moving on to N.
9 Num.
Yeah, go on. O.
Organa.
Yeah. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Or, Leia Organa, that'll do. No lives lost yet. This is all good. P.
Her Princess Leia.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we've already said, there's 5 of them. Leia, Power Droid, Paplu, Pruneface. Nice. Q. Are you all hoping that it's not you?
Dan. Go on, Dan.
Is it me?
Yeah, see, I had nothing. The only thing I could think of was Squidhead's name.
I was going to say Queen Amidala, but I'd probably get shot.
Yeah,
No,
I think
nothing.
we'll move on from Q. I think, because Q is a toughie, right? We've lost our life on Q. R.
Rebellion. Rebel Commando.
Yeah. Oh, Commando, nice. Yeah. Options: Rebel Soldier, Commander, Commando, and Rancor Keeper. R2D2, R5D4, Romba, Little Stuart, and reuse. So yeah, loads of R's. S.
S, Sir Snowtrooper.
Yeah, Stormtrooper, Snowtrooper, Squidhead, Star Destroyer, Commander,
Stormtrooper, open brackets, off Battle Gear.
Yeah, Sam Person, Snaggletooth. God, so many to choose from. Go on in with a T.
T-Bow.
T-Bow, right, yeah, okay, nice. TIE Fighter Pilot, T-Bow, Tusken Raider, U. Nice.
Ugnaught.
Yeah. V. Tricky one.
Have to be push Vlix.
Oh, yeah. Not even having to push back that hard on that. Probably want to reword that. Yeah. I would say I was struggling. I wrote vintage in capital letters.
I did have Villains 3-pack.
No, oh, nice. I'd even accept Vader. I'm in that sort of mood tonight. So Vlix,
yeah.
Vlix, classic. W.
Warwick.
Nice. So what was that? Wicket, Warwick,
Wicket,
or
Wicket,
Warrock?
W, Warwick.
Right, okay.
There's lots of W's in there.
Yeah. Worst Man, Weak Way, yeah, you name it. All sorts of stuff going on. And the final two, Y.
Y-Wing. Or Yubnub.
You've got loads of people screaming at the podcast now going, Yak Face. Or Yoda. But yeah, there we go. So yeah, Yubnub. I'll take Yubnub. And Z, bringing on home. What we got for Z?
Zuckus.
Yeah. Oh. Look at that. So there we go. Nice little icebreaker game for us. I love playing that. That's one of my little Star Wars Celebration Q games, you know. But
I'm exhausted now. Can we stop?
Yeah, it's time for bed. Right, yeah. So there we go. There we go. Hopefully you enjoyed that and people were joining in with us. Right, but as I said, this is all about the vintage. And, you know, we wanted to test our own knowledge, expand our own understanding, have a little bit of fun. You know, we wanted to think about all sorts of different vintage stuff. And we were thinking, right, what we'll do is we'll take it back to the very beginning. And there's a certain element of lore about this. And in some cases, mystique, and possibly in some cases, I would say the common perception or the common understanding of the situation around the early bird certificate package, and why I might be now bringing something new to the mix which hadn't been considered by you guys.
Star Wars figures. R2-D2. Chewbacca, Luke, and Princess Leia. They're the Star Wars Early Bird set of figures. These action figures are not yet available, but this Star Wars Early Bird certificate package is in stores. With this colorful Star Wars picture display stand and certificate, just send in to get a set of figures by mail. They'll be sent to you at home between February 1st and June 1st. The Star Wars Early Bird certificate package, new from Kenner.
Dan, I talk about the Early Bird certificate package. Well, what is it?
Yeah, so I'll do, I suppose, a short summary. So I suppose we've all been doing a bit of research on this, but a short summary of how it came to being as well, I suppose, is, I thought Stu had his notes for me. So pre-Star Wars, movies weren't particularly popular with toy companies. Movies only had a short window in the cinemas, and once they were out, that kind of be it, and the opportunity to sell toys would have passed. So TV shows were the preferred for toy makers, because they'd beam into people's home and potentially air for weeks or months or even years. But traditionally, toy companies, if they were to develop something for a movie, they'd want like 2 years notice. So they'd sign a deal 2 years out, develop all of the toys and get it on the shelves for the release date. But due to security concerns at Lucasfilm, they only started licensing Star Wars maybe a year before its release, probably less than that. And by February of 1977, so 3 months before Star Wars was due to hit cinemas, you had the likes of Mattel, Hasbro, Ideal, and a whole host of other Star Wars toy companies that had turned down the Star Wars license. So with only 3 months to go until its release, the chips are really stacked against Star Wars ever having any toys produced. But Kenner had the foresight, and in April 1977, after pitching a set of 3 3/4 inch action figures using 12 kit bash figures of the first 12 that we know and love, Kenner signed a deal to produce Star Wars toys. So in normal circumstances, it would take probably a year to sculpt, to get licensee approval, to create all the molds, to ship them out to Asia and produce the final products. But once Star Wars, hit the cinemas and was a smash, a little after a month of Kenner signing the deal, they had to throw everything at it to get the toys out to hit the market, and they got the year down to around 9 months by my calculation. So some of the dates are a bit iffy, but it looks like they did it in around 9 months. So still wasn't fast enough to get them in stores ready for Christmas, but to fill that 9-month gap, they did two things. So they produced a range of, I suppose, picture-based products, so things like puzzles and board games, and took existing Kenner products and rebranded them with Star Wars, which they called label slapping at Kenner. But the most controversial strategy, though, was the early bird certificate package. So that sold at retail in the US in late '77, with a deadline of the 31st of December 1977 for stores to stop selling it. Sold for between $10 and $15, and was essentially a promise to children that the toys were coming. Or for the cynical out there, it was a fancy IOU so that Kenner could start banking some cash. I can't find numbers on how many of these were sold, but I read in Engineering and Empire, one of the interviewees suggested that around half was sold. But I think it would be safe to assume that tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of these were sold to children across America who woke up, on December 25th, 1977 to a Star Wars branded cardboard envelope. But despite some negative press about the promotion, I don't think it can be seen as anything but a success and a testament to the power of Star Wars in 1977. I don't think too many other brands could probably get away with doing something like that either then or now. But the early bird certificate itself is a big cardboard envelope, big glossy cardboard envelope, measures about 19 inches by 9 inches. It's got the glossy concept artwork of the first 12 figures we're all familiar with from the back of the 12 back cards, and I think they use it on the logo still on SWF UK. It's got printed instructions on it on how to claim the figures, and a certificate that was filled out, sent to Kenner with a promise that in so many months' time you'd be the first to receive the brand new action figures. So yeah, it was the first opportunity for kids to get their hands on the action figures ahead of any product being available, in a nutshell. After all of that,
brilliant. Cheers for that.
Does that lay it out well? No,
that's perfect. No, I'm going to sort of fast forward to something which I was going to bring up later on, because you've mentioned, kids getting, the kids to get these and the kids to get these. And I'm just going to credit now, it was denofgeek.com. I was looking at some stuff there, and they were having an interview with someone. It was John Beck or Mark Beck, someone like that, who had been a Kenner representative. And it said, even though we envisage the certificates as being placed under the tree and not opened until December the 25th, we've gotten a lot of them sent back to us already. Adults seemed interested in having the figurines for themselves too. We've had a 26-year-old engineering student calling us and asking how soon they'll be ready, which made me think about us and made me think about, here we go, the old fossils and people now who are collected modern as adults. So yeah, we envisage this, and it was obviously designed for kids for Christmas, but yeah, it didn't stop adults buying them well in advance of Christmas. But no, that's great, that's perfect. However, I'm going to bring something up now which might just turn things on its head slightly, because yes, that's the story, that's the experience that I've been told. I'm looking through, what was it, the Concept Screen to Collectibles book, and it's in there, lovely pictures and stuff, and it says Kenner couldn't get many toys out for Christmas in '97, so it sold an empty box, the early bird certificate package with cardboard stage. The figures would arrive a few months later. That said, now I'm going to refer you guys to the Craig Miller book. Now, Star Wars Memories, and you know that I've spoken to you about this book, which I'm reading. Yeah, Star Wars Memories, My Time in the Death Star Trenches by Craig Miller, who was the first head of fan relations at Lucasfilm. So this guy was working at Lucasfilm. And if you don't mind, I'm just going to read it directly from the book, because he's turned this completely on its head. Well, from his point of view. You hear the beautiful sound of a page turn. The official story is that Kenner couldn't make the toys in time. By the time it was known what a big hit Star Wars was, it was too late to get them made and shipped. That story never made any sense to me. Even if they didn't know how many toys they'd need, even if they thought Star Wars would just be another toy line in their inventory, it was a license, and they'd have wanted to have toys in stores the year it came out. 2 Christmases later, if the movie hadn't been a huge success, no one would remember it. It was my belief and I've had it unofficially confirmed by people at Kenner at the time that they were worried about their bottom line. Kenner also had the license for the $6 Million Man and the Bionic Woman. They'd been doing very well with that line and had expected it to be their big Christmas seller. If there were Star Wars toys on the shelves, the Bionic toys would have gone unsold. The stores would have returned them, and Kenner would have had an enormous loss on that brand. The success of Star Wars as a film would have hurt them terribly. They needed to be able to sell those Bionic action figures. They came up with an astonishing plan. A designer at Kenner came up with the idea of selling a big sheet of cardboard with photos of the first action figures in the Star Wars line. Buying it, you got a promise that you would receive 4 of the figures as soon as they were ready, sometime in February. Brackets, although they actually ended up starting to ship them in January, so quite soon after Christmas. Funny old thing. He then goes on to say, kids wanted the Star Wars toys, so parents brought these promissory notes by the carload. But you can't just give a kid a picture of a toy and say Merry Christmas. You had to give them something they could play with under the tree. So the $6 Million Man and Bionic Woman toys still sold that Christmas. It was brilliant. What do you think about that?
I'm not so sure. I think it's a bit convoluted. I think the original reasoning is possibly the more believable.
Yeah, okay.
For me, anyway. Why would you not want to make money out of a line that you'd invested in as soon as possible? It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, why would you not want both lines to sell?
Yeah.
It's highly feasible that both lines would sell. You'd still have fans of Bionic Man and still have fans of Star Wars. People would probably buy a bit of both. So, yeah, I'm not sure whether that makes any sense to me.
See, to me, I read it and I was like, wow, that does make sense. I thought they were worried about these, Colonel Steve Austin, Lee Major figures, and it was Bionic Woman, Jamie Summers. They were worried about them being peg warmers like the old Klaatu, or just stuck there in Woolworths. So they were slightly concerned. But the whole, you can't just give a kid an envelope. Just give an envelope. Whereas if they had physical toys, would parents have been buying the Bionic ones and the Star Wars ones? I don't know, the whole Bionic range did come out in 76 and 77, so it seems entirely plausible to me, and bearing in mind that that's in Miller's book, and he was fan relations at Lucasfilm, I mean, that's quite a big thing to chuck into your book, if it's not true.
I had Star Wars toys, and I had Action Man, and I had Lego. I didn't not have one thing because another thing was out. It was, a toy company can't operate on just concentrating on one thing. They have to have different strings to the bow. If they put all their eggs in one basket, Palitoy for instance, you're going to end up in trouble. So I'm not so sure. I don't quite buy it, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't disbelieve it, but I just...
I have to say, when you look at the turnaround of figures even today, so like if you take, I don't know, The Mandalorian as an example and Baby Yoda, how long it took, bearing in mind the secrecy around that, it took them 6, 7, 8 months to get that out, and they've probably done that with their foot down as well. That if Kenner didn't sign the deal until April, they still done well to get them out in January. So I don't think they were hanging around. And
it was a brand new toy concept as well, the 3 3/4 inch figure. There was a lot to go into it. This wasn't like based on some existing action figure template. This was brand new.
Yeah, I mean, I think it certainly adds a new perspective, and not something I've heard before. He was there in the thick of it, and I wasn't. So I think it's a very valid view. But I think a lot of companies that they all have to tread this line where they're not cannibalizing their own brands across a category. So it wouldn't have been a new thing for Kenner to have 3 toy ranges out that all appeal to boys of a certain age, for instance. So I think that's something that companies like Kenner and Palitoy, they navigate anyway.
Yeah, no, Phil, and I just thought I'd throw it in there because when I read it, I was like, wow, it kind of blew my mind. I would be very interested to get some listener feedback on this and thoughts. This is what you said, Dan, is what everyone says. As I said, Sansweet's got it in his book. It's on Star Wars Collectors Archives. And, it's the known reason for the early bird to exist. So to have something like that, it'd be really interesting to see what our listeners and others within the collecting community think about that scoop from Craig Miller. But there we go. So, Mark, can you break down the early bird certificate? I know Dan's told us a bit about what it was, but what did it completely include when you got the set, and what do you know, mate?
In this rather sort of elaborate, long envelope, which was sort of brightly got bright graphics on, you got a display stand, a figure stand, which was a bit of flimsy cardboard, in all honesty, with some pegs. The club card, which was like a membership card for like a club or something like that, which again, not a great deal of imagination gone into that. Some stickers, which again, the stickers just weren't that great, I don't think. Could have done so much more with that. I mean, that was only artwork, really, so they could have knocked something together a bit better for that. The certificate, when the coupon, which you sent in as soon as you got the envelope, you filled your little coupon and sent it off, and then that's when you were supposedly down for the first set of 4 figures.
Okay, awesome. And going on from that then, so you send off your figures. How long? I mean, I know I've just said a little bit actually from the Miller thing, but what was the original plan for delivery for these after Christmas?
I think it's already been mentioned, but they started being sent out in January, so you didn't have that long to wait. The first figures to hit the shelves, the first 4 were Leia, R2, Luke, and Chewbacca, and the rest of the figures, the rest of the range, the first 12, started hitting the shops sort of early springtime. So if you did have an early bird certificate, and you were lucky enough to get hold of the figures, you would have had exclusive play rights for them for a good couple of months at least.
Yeah. Wow. How would you have felt with that? That would have been, it was such the big hit, wasn't it? You would have been. I remember when the next wave of Jedi figures came out, and the first kid in our school to have a Gamorrean guard, he was the most popular kid in the school that day. That's how Star Wars was back then. So to have the first 4 months in advance, yeah, man, that must have been awesome. Craig, moving on to you, buddy. This is a minefield. Your favourite. So baggies. If someone's looking at collecting this and they've got the tray, you've got the figures, what baggies are we looking at, buddy? Because not my bag.
Well, we've talked about the stage, we've talked about the action figures, we've talked about the certificate set. But what people really want to know about is the baggies, don't they? They want to know what these things came in. So technically, there were 5 baggies. Obviously, 4 for the figures and 1 for the little pegs that would attach your figures to the stage. Now, by very definition, these early bird sets came with the very first kind of Star Wars baggies. So to properly discuss this, we need to understand the different types of baggies that came out of the Kenner factory during those early years. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to go there. I'm going to list. I'm going to just run through the types of baggies that we're talking about. So they've been categorised by Star Wars academics as SWA to SWE. So SWA, which is the very first type of baggie, came out in 1978, had a white horizontal text that said "Made in Hong Kong," sealed with tape, and it was kind of a crispy bag. So if you rattled it with your fingers, it would make a little crispy sound. The SWB, again, was kicking around in 78. That had black vertical "Made in Hong Kong" text. That was heat sealed as opposed to tape sealed, and that was a soft bag. Wasn't a crispy one. SWC, that was still around in 78, but into 79, and that had blue Kenner horizontal General Mills G type. That was heat sealed. Again, that was a crispy bag. SWD, which was around 78, 79, that had a black horizontal "Made in Hong Kong" text. That was heat sealed, and that was a soft type of bag. Now the SWE, that was later. That was 79 to 80. Blue horizontal "Made in Hong Kong" was heat sealed, and that was a crispy bag. But we're not going to concern ourselves with SWE because that was a bit later. So you won't find an early bird set with that particular baggie. So 2 factors can contribute to variations in an early bird set. One, the fact that these are fulfilled and mailed out over a number of months, and Doris in the factory would have fulfilled this order with whatever bag figures were on the line that day. And the other factor is that a lot of these may have been pieced together after the fact to sell to collectors. So they're kind of legit enough if they fall into those fall into the right dates, but they're not guaranteed to have been how it was originally mailed. Are you all with me so far?
Yeah, that's a fair assumption as well.
Okay, so the purest and the most unadulterated set. So if you imagine on the factory floor that first morning, they're knocking those figures out. They would all be in SWA baggies. And if you find an early bird kit that's got a beautifully matching set of 4 baggies, then they're rarer and they command quite a premium. Anything else from that, they can come in a variation from SWA to SWD, depending on kind of when it was mailed. There's an oddity in there. Chewbacca is the only one to have known to have come in a textless bag. But if you've got an early bird set and you've got baggies in there that are recognised more around Empire or Jedi eras, you know that's been pieced together after the event. So that's an overview. This is a big topic. And lots of people much cleverer than me have kind of done the research. So I'm just going to point the listeners to a couple of links. One is swspaceclub.com/mailaways/earlybirdkit. And the other is ventnorbeach.smugmug.com/collectibles/earlybird COOs. So if you Google something vaguely like that, you'll come up to a couple of sites that will give you a lot more detail than I've just done.
Wow, mate, that's awesome. And 2 sites which I've definitely not checked out in the past. So thanks ever so much for that. Brilliant. Now, Dan, we talked about baggies, and I said already about the tray. I know from not from experience, but from what I've been told, that these trays can be extremely fragile and quite brittle, quite easy to damage. Now, there's something in the back of my head which tells me that, have you got one of these certificates? I don't think you've got the set of figures, but do you have the certificate?
I've got the certificate package, the envelope.
Yeah. Now, was that one of the more recent Farthest Froms which we were actually able to attend in person?
No, that was from Facebook. I think it was James Martin that put me onto it. So he,
Really?
I was going to buy his off of him, but he wanted too much money for it, and someone was selling a not as nice one as what he had, and pointed me in the direction of it. Nice little nod to James there.
When you got this off Facebook, how, from a collecting point of view, bearing in mind that this was an American thing, it wasn't a UK, so you've got it because I don't know, you haven't purchased it from a nostalgia point of view, clearly, but it's been purchased because it's one of the big ones, isn't it? It's, you talk about the vinyl kick Jawas and the lore, the stories and the tales and the curating which can come with a collection, I guess. A, why did you buy it? And then B, when you had it, how did it make you feel? Did you want to find out more, or what?
So I think you hit the nail on the head, and you talk about creating your collection, and if you bring someone around your collection and you're showing them stuff, you want to be able to almost tell the story of vintage Star Wars, and it's the first item, isn't it? Everything starts with that. You can be, we're all a little bit snobbish about British and releases and Palitoy, but everything goes back to that envelope, I think. And I think I was going with my brother to see Rise of Skywalker, and he hadn't been in my collection room for a while, and he came in, and I've got it in a nice case, GW acrylic case, and he came in and said, "Well, what's that?" And I kind of told him about it. And he was actually interested for once, and it is a talking piece. It does look really good. But yeah, for me, it was more about having that as an historical moment. I've got no nostalgic attachment to it, but like you say, we've been talking lots about all of these collecting books. Every single one, I think, has got a piece in there about the early bird certificate. It's an important piece, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. For me, there's no nostalgia from my childhood, but it is where it all began. And I do remember seeing one at Farthest From. I don't think I was wildly off with this, but I think someone was going to sell it for about £400, maybe. Clearly, it wasn't complete, but it was just pretty much the envelope and the artwork. And I ummed and ahed about it, and I was thinking about it, and it might have been one of those things where towards the end of the show, if it hadn't have gone, I might have, really, really thought about pulling a plug on that. And no, it went by someone within the community who we know. It didn't just go off to a stranger. I'm trying to think who it was who bought it. Can anyone remember? I think it might have even been Simon who sold it.
Simon bought one off me, but it was at Echo Live a couple of years ago.
Right.
And I actually obtained it from a private sale, and the guy I bought it off just had loads of modern stuff, a couple of vintage bits in there, but nothing to really write home about. And when I went round, I completely just put it to one side because I thought automatically it was the Hasbro re-release, the one that it brought out years ago, because it was in immaculate condition. And I just thought, it's a new one. I put it to one side. Anyway, when I got back home a few days later, I was going through the stuff, and I looked at this kit. I was trying to find the Hasbro logo on the envelope. I was thinking, this is original, and I couldn't believe it that this envelope was the real deal. And I'd looked at it, I thought, my God, is it a repro? I thought, no, it can't be a repro. If it's a repro, it's the best one I've ever seen. And yeah, it was the real deal. And Simon had that off me, and I think he got rid of his one. It was like an upgrade, so he might have sold it at farthest from.
Ah, right, yeah, okay. Oh no, what an amazing story! I mean, mate, oh my God, I'm buzzing and I'm grinning from ear to ear thinking about that for you, because that's one of those dreams, isn't it? That's one of those results where you're just like, yeah, awesome, cash back. The
thing was, I just kind of tossed it to one side. Obviously, I didn't fling it, but I just put it to one side and didn't really kind of treat it with any reverence. It was just, I thought, it's a nice thing to have because it looks like the real deal. I didn't realise it was the real deal.
So you got that and then sold it on. So do you not own one of those, or do you?
No,
right.
It's not within the remit of my kind of collecting.
Right,
I sold though for UK stuff,
yeah,
with the odd exception. But for me, no, it doesn't really light any fire for me. The early bird kit. I understand that it's a key part of the whole Kenner Star Wars, toy collecting ethos. That whole. It's a very, very important piece. I don't dispute that for 1 second, but for me personally, I have no connection with it, so it's not something that I would want to own.
Fair one. Okay, yeah. Craig, do you have one of these?
I do have one of these. I do. It's heavily into Power of the Force 2. I was collecting through Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, sort of tailing off a little bit into Revenge of the Sith, but space, not space as in the Final Frontier, but physical space in my attic, just meant that I had to do some serious pruning. So I took the decision to sort of cut off my collecting at sort of in that nice convenient line between vintage and modern, and I sold 80%, 90% of my modern figures, ships, creatures, vehicles, everything in one big job lot to a dealer for a decent sum of money. It was by no means what I paid for it, but I think it was like £800 or £900 in my hand that I knew I was never going to have that opportunity again to kind of spend that kind of money on a thing. What thing would I buy with that money that I would never otherwise kind of go chasing? And it was the early birds. I kind of always, for the reasons Dan has kind of said, it just occupies that place as a great story, as a sort of iconic beginning of everything. So I went on eBay with this cash, and there was a seller there, and he was selling the kit, so the certificate, but no, it was the certificate, the envelope, but he actually had two of the card stages and the kit with everything in it, with an extra R2 in a baggie, and the only thing sort of amiss with that was the coupon had been clipped, which I didn't mind because it shows that it was kind of used. And the guy, I bought this off the guy, and he drove up from I can't remember where he came from, but sort of London way. He drove up to Leamington to hand deliver this thing. So it was a very, very special item, very kind of special moment, and I really love having it. And it looks $1 million in a GW acrylic case. It is American. I don't have that link to it. I don't have that kind of. There's that special Star Wars sauce that it's dripping in, but yeah, it's a great piece. Great piece.
Mark's had one, pass one on. Dan's got one. You've got this. I mean, I just quite clearly.
You need to sort yourself out, Jess.
I need to pull my finger out. What's going on, Alanson? All right then. So Dan, this set, we talk about the figures. Now, one of the key things here is the Luke. Is that we talk about the set included a DT Luke. Most of our listeners will know what that is. However, I have seen it online where people have come unstuck and thought a regular Luke action figure was a DT. Can you just briefly explain the different variants which we had coming with this?
So the standard Luke Skywalker farm boy, whatever you want to call him, he's obviously got a yellow lightsaber, and most people will have one that's just got a little tip on it. And until a few years ago, I just thought that was kind of where they clipped it off the out of the molds in the factories, and it was just a spare bit of plastic. But there's obviously more of a story to it than that. So that bit of plastic that hangs there on the DT actually is a separate part to the lightsaber. So where the lightsaber is almost tubular, there's a longer piece of plastic that slides out, extending the lightsaber. So you have your single telescoping lightsaber that you pull the handle under Luke's arm and it slides out of his arm, and then you've got this extending piece of plastic then that becomes the double telescoping, and they're the ones that came with most early bird kits. The hardest ones to get, obviously, the ones that everyone wants to get their double telescoping variant. There's more Lukes out there than anything else because most of those early bird kits did come with the DT saber. Obviously, they decided that wasn't a practical weapon in terms of cost to produce. It was fiddly and I think it broke easily. So when they came to carding figures, there weren't too many Lukes on cards with a DT, and even less Darth Vaders and Bens because they weren't in the early bird kit.
Yeah, indeed. So what you're alluding to there was there were a few Luke non or single telescoping sabers in the early bird kits, but yeah, the what most people associate with and are after are the double. Yeah, brilliant.
It's interesting because I've just pulled one of my 12 backs down, and there is a little next to the illustration of the 12 figures on the back. There's a how to work the lightsaber. And it on the back of the card, it's actually got the DT lightsaber on there and how to extend it out and then pull the kind of filament that sits in the middle of the saber and slide it out. So there was obviously intentions right at the start to have those carded.
Well, I've said it before. I always used to snap the ends off the lightsaber because I either want them on or I want them off. I don't want them sort of half just dripping out the end of your hand. So I would, I was always cutting those off when I was a kid, and I say that with dread now. Craig, mate, I was having a little look. I was trying to see if I could see anything on Tracker, but how often have these been coming up for sale? Obviously, you've got yours. Yeah, so how often do they come up for sale, and what is the going rate, if there is such a thing?
Yeah, I looked on Tracker as well, and I don't know whether it covers the early bird sets unless it's sort of hidden in the redesign. But I don't think they come up as often as they used to. I think as well, because it's such an iconic piece, it's been very much parodied. So Mark mentioned there was 2005, Hasbro did a version with modern figures. There's a gentle giant jumbo version, and there's the classic Angry Birds early bird set. So if you go to eBay and start looking for these things, it's muddied by a lot of that kind of nonsense. But there is stuff there. So going through sort of what's on eBay at the moment, there's a live auction for a UK graded certificate package, and the certificate and the bits and pieces in the envelope, and that's up there for £2,200. There's no bids on it. I'm sat there with a couple of days left to go. There was one which sold back in July. So again, this was the 12-back display stand, had the envelope with it, but none of the sort of the bits and pieces. That sold for an offer less than $550 just for those pieces. You see odd bits for sale that kind of help people complete the set. So we talked about catalogues a few shows ago. The early bird catalogue, which was a distinct catalogue that just came with that sold 8th of July for £100. So even the little catalogues go for serious money. There's one here that claims it was sold September, so very recently, and this had everything. The baggies were open, but all the figures were there, all the bits of paperwork, stickers, the mailer box, the certificate package, and the figure set, and that was sold for $5,500. So that's a kind of sort of cross section on eBay. I did look in a couple of the groups.
Yeah.
I think in the IC there was one which was just the mailer set, which was had some issues, but it was kind of all there. Obviously, it didn't come with the certificate, but that they were asking $3,950 for that. No takers that I could see. And then there was another one which was very similar, didn't have the baggies, so just loose figures, and that got snapped up at $1,200. So it's all of it's a lot more than I paid for in 2012.
As you say, that's quite a mixture from being able to get the smallest samples through to huge kits and stuff. You quite clearly in the last 8 years, prices have just exponentially just gone up incredibly, haven't they? And as you said, to you back in the day, in 2012, it was a considerable amount of money to spend anyway. But what was the last thing you said about had the figures but not the baggies?
Yeah, so it's got this one had a set of it's ungradable because the figures weren't in the baggies and it was missing the, but it was a good starter set.
So what did they have? Because that price to me seemed, in the whole scheme of manoeuvre for Star Wars vintage collecting at the moment, that actually seemed a reasonable price. Sorry.
So it was so you've got the mailer box, the tray, the figures, you've got the catalogue, and you've got the certificate, the coupon.
And a DT Luke?
I'm just looking, see if that's a DT Luke. I assume non-DT Luke is one.
I was going to say that seems
a
real bargain, as C-3PO would say.
It's in an acrylic case, and it's
But it looks great.
It looks good. Yeah.
Awesome.
I have a question. We talked about the figures, and we've talked about how these were, the first ones out there. Do we think, and do we know whether these were a considered mix of 4 figures? So they went, who should we put out first? Or whether indeed it was dictated by the fact that they were the first ones off the production. Because if you look at figures like R2, he's got a VAC metalized dome. There's some assembly there with the screw and the clicking, and Leia's got a vinyl cape, so another extra element. Would they realistically be the first ones off the production line, given that there was a bit more work? Or do you think they went, people are going to go nuts for these, let's have the hero and the heroine and the big alien and the little robot, that's a good mix? Do you think they got the mix right?
I've got a theory.
Go on.
So, if you picture the concept art in your head, the graphic they use on the front, so the 12 figures. So you've got Tusken Raider, C-3PO, this is in the order they're from left to right, Death Squad Commander, Han Solo, Chewbacca, Princess Leia, Luke Skywalker, R2-D2, Vader, Stormtrooper, Ben, and Jawa. The middle 4 figures are Chewbacca, Princess Leia, Luke Skywalker, and R2-D2. So I think someone said, just do the middle 4.
I like that theory.
Craig, it's a great question, and far more eloquently put than I would have put, because in my notes I just said, do we have the right ones? From my point of view, Luke was a given, wasn't he? You had to have Luke. Chewbacca was just such a believable alien in this alien world. I think Chewbacca was also an absolute given. Yes, you had the heroine as Leia, and I just think it's R2-D2 story, isn't it? And it's just something a little bit different rather than another person or someone of the similar height. So I think that there was a lot of play there. People could argue, what about Vader and stormtroopers or so? But for me, it was all about Luke Skywalker at the time. I was far more interested as a young kid in Luke than I was Han. What are your thoughts?
I think perhaps as well, to Dan's point, the artwork and the pre-production stuff we'd all seen had Luke and Leia front and centre, didn't it?
Absolutely.
I'm not sure why Chewie was in there. I'd have put maybe a villain in there, so maybe a stormtrooper, so at least you could have battles. You got 4 good guys in there right from the off, so they're all going to be sat around being friends. I think it would have been better to have maybe 2 good guys and 2 villains. So maybe, I don't know, a Stormtrooper and a Tusken Raider or something like that, just to mix it up a bit.
No, I agree on that. I agree, absolutely. If you were to mix it up, you could say put an alien, either Chewbacca, a Tusken Raider, or a Jawa, a villain. You're free to choose from, a hero and a droid, and you kind of get one of each then. Yeah,
I just think having 4 good guys right from the outset is... What kind of games are you going to have with that? It's Star Wars. It's not Star Friends. It's combat.
Tusken would have been good, wouldn't it? Because Tusken has interaction. Some people have interaction with R2-D2 and also have a fight with Luke Skywalker. So that could have been a good one. That could have been. So you've got R2-D2 having interactions with Princess Leia and with Luke. So that would have worked. So I think, you could mix out Chewie for Tusken Raider.
And also, Chewie without Han Solo is like having... can't think of an analogy off the top of my head, but...
hot dog without mustard?
Yeah, Chewie without Han Solo just doesn't... It just looks a bit odd.
Or maybe you could be really cynical and say they gave you good guys, so the weekend after when they hit the shelves, you'd want to go out and buy the bad guys.
It's all driven by the dollar, isn't it? So, maybe there's a reason for that.
So what else have you guys seen then? What else do you know? Because they're is a great deal of information out there. Star Wars Collector's Archive is just Harry Rammers with all sorts of stuff. There's, as I said, that the website I checked out earlier on, what Craig has said. So, I've said to you guys, right, go out and have a little look. And what can you bring back to the party? What have you seen?
I've got a question rather than
go on.
something that I've seen, and I'll put it to you. Why did we never get one for the UK market, like Palitoy? Why didn't Palitoy knock something out?
Good question.
Is it just a timing issue? By the time we got the film that Christmas, was it Christmas 77 December? I suppose, it wasn't. When did it come out? Did it come out Christmas Day or Boxing Day? No. Was the first screenings or? The
first showings, press screenings for Star Wars in this country were autumn, sort of late summer, autumn, going into October. It then started hitting provincial theatres up and down the country several months after that. So going into December, January, February 1978. So, it's not like cinema now where it's sort of like it's released all at the same time. Things didn't happen like that back then. There was several months delay between, getting it over from the Atlantic. There could be a reason for that Palitoy didn't. But Palitoy would still be on the back foot, wouldn't they, with the toys? Because I remember them really struggling to fulfil demand when the films hit. So there was still an option for them to do something with the or something similar to an early bird certificate, given that Kenner's success with it, they'd sold God knows how many for basically what was essentially a piece of cardboard.
It might be cultural. It might be that they just didn't think that would fly in the UK market. I mean, I can't imagine my mum going out and buying a big envelope for me for Christmas.
No, you're right. Now, my dad was having a go at saying half the cost of the figure was in the packaging, and he'd always moan about, God, look at the size of the figure and look how big the piece of card is.
I think from my sources in the UK, general release was actually day after Boxing Day. It was the 27th. So again, everything you said with regards to Palitoy timing, etc. But if the film didn't come out until after Christmas on general release, then there would have been no real take up, I guess, at that stage. So we would have still been smashing into early Lego or Action Man and stuff like that.
I'm glad they didn't have this half-assed early bird thing. I remember walking into the toy department of a department store and seeing it all for the first time, and that was my introduction to the Star Wars range. It wasn't some kind of like, it was a little illustration of a little funny man and I filled the coupon, and it was just. I wouldn't swap that experience seeing that stuff for the first time.
And imagine how much they'd go for now if they did, with a Palitoy logo on it.
We have Palitoy Death Stars made of cardboard and stuff, so this Kenner cardboard envelope, we would have probably had a plastic one, wouldn't we? Because we just do like to turn it on its head. But I was having a little look on Star Wars Collector's Archive, because, these things are rare enough. They are. Could you say they're rare? Bearing in mind half of us have got them, but no, they're extremely sought after. I would still say that condition wise, these are extremely hard to find pieces. You could probably find them at Star Wars Celebration room sales for sale, but they don't come up that often. But certainly what you don't see come up for sale is what I've seen on Star Wars Collector's Archive, which is the bin and header, so shop display bin and header, and the chromalin for the bin and header on Star Wars Collector's Archive. So certainly some incredible prototype bits and pieces there. So for people to go and check out that. The only other thing which I was going to mention, it wasn't just Luke who differed. We spoke about the DT and then the non-DT. Any of you aware of anything else within the figures which is different or changed throughout the range of the early bird?
Was the colour of R2's dome, the blue, or was like a slightly different colour blue, and the and Chewie's gun was green.
Yeah, that's right. It was the Chewie's gun which I was thinking more of. It's because it was moulded in a dark green plastic instead of the normal sort of blue black. The latest versions, which then had the regular Luke non-telescoping, then had a normal Chewbacca gun. So definitely something to look out for as well in the baggies, as to what colour is Chewie's gun. But yeah, fantastic. I really do need to pull my finger out. I don't think I'll ever be able to get one of the trays with the figures. However, to get the early bird certificate, as you say, framed up just in a bit of acrylic is a nice thing to have in the collection, where the whole thing began. Yeah, definitely something which I would I'd look to get in my collection, for sure.
You came nothing? You're braver than I thought.
Nice, come on.
Well, we're going to move on. And this is the thing which it was brought to my attention just from general chit-chat on Facebook Messenger, where people have said, oh, have you seen this? And it was... I really, really don't like mispronouncing people's names, but it's Neil Gaisley's post. He put a post on about something which he had purchased and then sold on. So Craig, I'm going to come straight to you. What did Neil have for auction?
What did he have for auction? He had a boxed Palitoy Landspeeder, which there's nothing particularly remarkable about the toy itself. It looks to be complete, and the box was on the tatty side, by no means a pristine example of the packaging. But what caught everyone's attention was a dirty, great big sticker on the front. So this sticker, how best to describe this? It was large for the box. If you imagine the inside of the racetrack, it went from the racetrack at the bottom right up to the nameplate Landspeeder, and sort of took about a third of the box. There's no mistaking that this box came with a special offer, and it was for a mini action figure, and it was Boba Fett, and it was free. So the way that they were promoting this, just to sort of read what was actually put on the sticker: free Boba Fett mini action figure, the bounty hunter from the exciting new Star Wars film The Empire Strikes Back, actual size 3 3/4 inches, articulated limbs and rotating head. Cut out this panel and send it with your name and address plus 20p towards postage and packing to the Palitoy Company, and the address there and a few bits illegal. So very much kind of along the lines of the Bounty Hunter capture log that we've talked about before, and other sort of on-pack promotions. And it's very, very arresting as a piece of work. It's bright red. It's got a starburst, zigzaggy edge. It's got free there in a very 70s kind of brush script, and it's got a Boba Fett on there that's a sort of single colour line drawing that I think Mark described it as looking like they'd got the work experience kid to draw it. So if you think of the classic poster of the airbrushed Fett that kind of ran with this promotion, they probably had sight of that to kind of roughly get the pose and the angle, but yeah, it's not the best example of Palitoy art you will see out there, but obviously very unusual and got a lot of people very excited.
Yeah, fantastic. And sorry, where was this? I said that you put it up for auction, but I didn't actually specify. It was on Facebook, or it wasn't. Yeah, it was auction. It was on Facebook.
It was on Facebook, and was it on Echo? It's on Echo Auctions.
Yes, it was. It was on Echo Auctions.
Yeah, because it reappeared on the Imperial Commissary, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah, put on a couple of different sites. Now, Mark just chips in the back. Mark, you bid on this, didn't you?
I did, and I really wanted it, but I knew my bid of whatever I put in was going to get blown out of the water, because there was a valuation thread before, obviously, the auction post, and I was the first person to comment, and I knew right from the outset that was going to be £1,000 piece easily. I'll let Dan fill you in with how much it went for, but yeah, I was way off. But it was a piece that I would really love. I would really love to get hold of that particular sticker, because it's a Palitoy offer and it's Empire Strikes Back. It just ticks all my boxes.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? A lot of people wouldn't have seen this before. I mean, so where had it been seen? Where was this? How had this been catalogued in the past?
Incredibly rare. I have seen it on Slave One box several years ago, but I cannot find any photographic reference for it anywhere. But weirdly, the two places that it is catalogued before this Landspeeder is on two 12-inch figures: a Dennis Fisher Stormtrooper and a Palitoy Princess Leia box 12-inch figure. So whether it's a Palitoy generic offer that went nationwide, or whether it is a store-specific special offer, like a regional special offer or a chain store or whatever, I don't know. there's so little known about it. There's just no way of knowing. But there's so few of these stickers anywhere. It's such an unusual and rare thing to find. I'm just not surprised everybody went absolutely mental for it.
So it is one of those ones where as soon as you saw it with your collecting knowledge, you were like, bam, I know exactly what that is. Because that's something which I haven't seen for a long time. Or did it take you a couple of looks?
No, well, there's quite a few people that were questioning how legitimate it was. And, there's no question in my mind that was 100% legitimate. It was, it's nothing repro. A lot of people had said they'd never seen it before. Like I say, it's so rare, it's so unusual to find on any box, and so little is known about it. I mean, Palitoy's Boba Fett offer is almost mythological in its rarity. So few existing pieces left now that so little is known about it, and this is part and parcel of that offer. So it's very, very unusual. So I'm not surprised a lot of people have never seen it before.
We said that the guy then initially put up a valuation thread. So ticking all the boxes, doing all the right things, gaining some interest in the first place. And you know what people like? People talk and stuff, and people have said, oh, have you seen this? Have you seen this? There's probably people, oh, can you tag me when it comes available and whatnot, I'm sure. But Dan, he auctioned this off, and what value did it reach?
It did reach the staggering sum of £2,250, just shy of $3,000. So yeah, a hefty sum, but a real nice sticker. It does look superb, and I mean, I'm no fountain of knowledge, but I've never seen that before. And you kind of, every day's a school day in Star Wars almost, and these things are popping up all the time. It seems that there's, wow, I've not seen that before, and then you look on the SWCA and there's a page on it. I suppose there's no beating around the bush. I think the other draw to this story was, I suppose, a little bit around how the seller conducted himself a little bit after the sale. And I don't know this guy Neil, and I'm not going to badmouth the guy, but he did raise a few eyebrows because he kind of went around Facebook after the sale posting how much he'd sold it for and how much he originally paid for it the day before from a neighbour or maybe a week before, which was a bit of an odd thing to do. I think we've all had a touch now and then and got a deal on something, and whether it's on eBay and then made a couple of quid on it, but this was pretty staggering that he paid 30 quid for it off his neighbour and sold it a week later for nearly $2,500. Everyone's entitled to do what they want. You've got to question your morals sometimes or things like that, especially if it's your neighbour. And I think it certainly raised a few eyebrows.
Yeah, you'd think, okay, you probably maybe want to soften the sort of the glut and the smug mode by maybe, I don't know, saying, yeah, I've done really, really well. I've massively lucked in, sold it for this because this is what it's achieved. And I don't know whether or not you could say, right, and actually I'm happy with this much, so I'm going to do a good deed or pay it back somehow or do something or other. But yeah, just to say, hey, I'm the king of flippers. And I think that's what it's done there. It's just left a bit of a sour taste in some people's mouth. But I
must admit, I've never known anybody do that after signing a piece, to go on and say how much they paid for it, not only on social media, but also on a different Facebook group than what he was actually selling it on. So we went on he was selling it on Echo, got the valuation on Echo, went to Echo Auctions, and then went and posted on the Imperial Commissary about how much he paid for it. A bit strange, really, but like Dan says, I mean, you can't knock the guy. I mean, he's bought something cheap and he sold it for a decent amount of money. So maybe a bit of money towards his neighbour might not go amiss for the opportunity to buy something so cheap and for him to make a real good, tidy amount of money.
Yeah, absolutely fair point. I don't think that post is available now. I think that post may have been removed. So, you know what it's like though with the internet. When people say, once something's on the internet, that's it forever. Because, you can delete a post, but I'm sure that there are screenshots or whatnot kicking around. But there we go, yeah, an incredible piece, fantastic story behind it. As you say, a great sticker, and now it's just raised people's awareness to keep an eye out for that sticker in the future. And you never know, I got a feeling about stuff like this that something with that sticker is going to come up for sale. Certainly I haven't been tipped the wink at all, but you know what it's like. Something is going to come up for sale within the next month, isn't it, with the same sticker on. Now someone's gone, oh, flippin' heck, I've got one of those. Right, yeah, I'm going to see if I can get a holiday out of this small little box with a sticker. So, yeah, fantastic.
No one's going on holiday this side of Christmas.
No, true. Mate, this is a positive podcast.
Okay,
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, fantastic, lads.
He did say, I did read the post, and he did say that I think the community put him right. And further down the post, he did say he was going to share some of the winnings with his neighbours.
You'll have to sell your speeder.
That's okay. I'm never coming back to this planet again.
Pending approval poster. Or Craig, you'll correct me for the pronunciation of this particular piece. Now, this is something which you've been it's a fantastic story which I'd just like you to lead with throughout. And tell us, mate, all about your pending approval poster.
Yeah, it's a very torturous title for a blog post, but it links back to the name of the product, Penna Poster, which we will get into. But this was a random find on eBay. We've all done it. We've all, Sunday night bored, trying to see what we can type into the search bar, see what comes up. And I'm not sure what I was searching for when this popped up in my eBay, but I certainly wasn't looking for unproduced art of a colour it yourself poster that dated back right to the very dawn of Star Wars merchandise. But sure enough, there was this thing, and it was listed, and I'm going to read this out verbatim. Vintage Star Wars Penna poster, colouring poster, 1977, super rare, with 3 exclamation marks. And you know it's a good eBay listing when you've got 3 exclamation marks, don't you? So this was the listing. Extremely rare. Offered here is a vintage Star Wars Penna poster, colouring poster from 1977. Never officially published. This black and white colouring poster measures 15 inches by 22 inches and is in excellent condition with just some very minor general wear. One of the earliest Star Wars products ever produced. You won't find this super rare poster anywhere else. The story. Late in 1976, artist Frank Sirocco, Alien Legion, was contacted by Open Door Enterprises Incorporated, a company based in San Jose, California, to do another in a series of Penna poster colouring kits for the Bay Area company. He had done a few others, including a Star Trek colouring poster, see photos, and this was included in the photos in the list. This assignment was for a new science fiction movie that had not yet been released called Star Wars. Assuming they would acquire the licensing rights just as they had for the Star Trek poster, the company commissioned Frank to design the poster using promotional photos from the movie. As you can see, they were so confident they even had him use the Star Wars logo prominently in the design. Please note, the Star Trek posters are not included as part of this auction. The problem, Open Door Enterprises was unable to secure the licensing, so they had to cancel the publication product. Although disappointed, Frank was paid a kill fee for his work and was able to retain the original art. The movie premiered and made history. With the success of the film, Frank eventually decided to sell the artwork to make up some of the lost income of the cancelled project. Later that same year, he ran across a vendor at a comic convention selling his Star Wars poster. His signature had been removed from the poster. Frank explained the situation to the dealer, who stated that he did not print the posters and had no contact information as to who did. Frank was given a handful of the unlicensed posters by the vendor at that time. These posters, of which this is one, have been stored in a flat file since 1977 and are truly one of the earliest and rarest pieces of Star Wars memorabilia. Very few of these exist. Note, will be mailed flat. So that was the listing. Poster in question really sort of caught my eye. To describe it, I'm sure everyone's familiar with the genre of posters that you colour in yourself. So, largely line art work that leaves lots of space for children to colour in and make their own. And this is a character montage in the best tradition. You've got Vader at the top, flanked by stormtroopers. You've got little ships and vehicles flying around, little kind of energy trails. You've got the heroes in the middle, Luke, Leia, Han, and Chewie. You've got Vader and and Ben just very unusually depicted, like they're about to start a fencing duel either side of this poster with their lightsabers kind of vertically in front of them. And at the bottom, you've got a montage of 3PO, R2, you've got the Tusken Raiders attacking Luke, you've got Grand Moff Tarkin in there, you've got Death Squad Commander, Jawas, and it was an image I'd never seen before. I like papery things, I like arty things, and it just caught my eye. It really did. But I didn't kind of go hell for leather for it. I saved it in my watch list and moved on, but I kept going back to it. I was very, very intrigued. I mean, what do we think? Just to pause there and get your view on that piece of work as it stands.
It's brilliant. You look at it and you look at the, from the first 12 figures point of view, as you say, you got the main characters, but you got Death Squad Commander there, Death Squad Commander with his massive helmet, almost like something out of Spaceballs. And, he's there with Tarkin. You got your Jawa Sandcrawler. There's an incredible amount of action in this picture. There's so much going on, and they're not images which you normally associate. You've got the standard sort of Chewbacca looking like he does in the original sort of Chewbacca picture on the carded figures, and the Stormtroopers, I guess. But the Leia, the Luke pose, and the Han expression, Han certainly looks a little bit older, but it's all different. It all looks original. I love the sort of knights, the classic Vader and Ben. But let's just, from my point of view, get the elephant out of the room now, because it was when I looked at this and I was like, hang on a second. And I think when we were discussing it, I hope I wasn't the sort of pin in your balloon, mate. But when I said to you, there's a TIE bomber, and there wasn't a TIE bomber in Star Wars. So what's going on with that, mate? And so here you are sort of celebrating and saying about this significant, amazing piece of artwork which has got so much history behind it. If anyone said to me, right, of all the people in the Star Wars collecting world, who would you want to have this, it would be you or Mark, hands down. It would be absolutely you, because this is so up your tree and so well deserved. But when I saw that TIE bomber and I said to you, mate, it's got a TIE bomber in it, tell me about that, and how did you feel? Because I felt a bit rubbish afterwards.
It was absolutely a fair shout, and I was I had no reason to doubt this guy, and I'll go on in a little moment to just sort of discuss him and his background. But it all smelt and felt legit to me. So I went back to him and I said, look, we've been talking about this, and told him that we were going to be featuring it. And he said, they sent me a load of stuff. They sent me a mix of stills and a mix of sketches of kind of pre-production work. And Mark had mentioned this TIE boarding craft. He was working from this material supplied by the commissioning company, and it's very feasible that this sketch by Joe Johnston with this TIE boarding craft, which was confirmed on Wikipedia as being designed for the very first Star Wars film, but the exterior model never made it into any scenes, was resurrected for the Empire Strikes Back as the TIE bomber. So back in the early days, that would have been kicking around, and this is what some of the ships look like, this is what some of the robots look like, and you can tell from the poster that some of it is just lifts of stills. The Tuskens attacking Luke there at the bottom, that's a reference to a still that we've all seen a million times. And then you've got things like the Sandcrawler, which is very clearly Ralph McQuarrie's early design for a Sandcrawler. And then you've got other elements that he's just drawn himself to make fit. So the Vader and Ben stood there like dueling knights being a good example of that. So it all still rings true, but was a very fair challenge, Jess.
Well, yeah, certainly no love, no sort of, no hard feelings or anything like that. So that's all good. I mean, really interesting. There's two Bens in there. So you've got your very sort of still looking Ben, and then another one. So as you say, it's his interpretation of what he's taken from the movie. I love the fact that centrally above it you have Vader, like he's all sort of omnipresent almost, and he is overseeing everything. Which because he can sense stuff. I love it. I really, really do, and I'm so grateful and so glad that you've produced such an amazing blog to go with this, which we've obviously released. Cracking.
Yeah, so I started I started writing a post just to put into the Beyond the Toys group, because I thought, that community would like to see that. But then it spun off. This is what happens when I have not much to do at a weekend. So I looked into Frank. So he'd clearly done this Star Trek version before, and pen a poster and open door. I wondered what this company was and who this guy was, and it turned out that the guy selling it was the artist himself, and he'd written it in the third person. And he now runs one of the coolest kind of looking vintage shops in San Jose, and he trades in not sort of sci-fi specifically, just general kind of vintage and pop culture memorabilia. So looking into Frank and his work, very quickly you discover that he worked for Marvel for a short time, and he'd worked on Doctor Strange and the Incredible Hulk. So he certainly had the comic art chops, and you can see why back in the early days of his career they went to him to look at this brand new Star Wars license. But one of the things he became the most famous for was a series called The Alien Legion, which was a Marvel publication that was sort of a space version of the Foreign Legion, a gang of misfits who would go around and have adventures, and you can sort of see a lot of his work on that. He spent a stint in the embryonic days of 3D work and computer games. He worked on the game version of Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, which is a title I remember from the 90s. And interestingly, fun fact, he worked alongside a young programmer by the name of Elon Musk. He probably has some stories. This comes from his beginning of his career when he was a jobbing illustrator. I can imagine that it was quite a disappointment to him for this not to have gone ahead and not to be part of that whole kind of Star Wars world. But I featured in the blog post, if people want to take a look, something from a UK-based company called Talon, which didn't let the lack of having a license stop them from producing a very similar kind of colour-in set, which I purchased recently from Mark. Do you want to just talk us through that, Mark?
Yeah, it was a piece that I got from a guy I've been buying bits and pieces of him for a long time now, and every now and again he'll sort of message me and say, I've got this, and he sent me a picture of that Talon art set. I had never seen anything like it before, and it's a typical sort of UK newsagent's tap rack type product, sort of 50p or 99p or whatever, one of these cheap toys to keep kids happy for a couple of hours. It was clearly Star Wars because it got Star Destroyers on there, Millennium Falcon, 3PO, Vader, Stormtroopers. There was no hiding, and they didn't even sort of change it 15 or 20%. It was almost, just complete lift of Star Wars designs. It was like a blank, sort of rather black and white images that you then had like a little paint set which you filled in the colours. Really basic, very cheap, not licensed in any way, not even dated, but clearly sort of late 70s, very early 80s at the absolute latest. And never seen one in the whole sort of 40 plus years I've been collecting. Cracking item, and glad that Craig got it.
Well, now I have a focus collection of unproduced and dodgy, poster art.
Well, we know where to come now, don't we, Craig?
So Talon didn't play by the rules where Open Door did, so they walked away from this attempt to win the license. But we all know who did win the license for such things for Star Wars, which was Craftmaster. I think when you think about the Craftmaster posters for Star Wars, the one that springs to mind is the one with the 3D helmet. It seems to be more just prevalent. I've seen that more often. It's the one I own, and it must have seemed quite ambitious and exciting, if they were pitching against Open Door with their simple little poster, to have this 3D element of the Darth Vader mask that you stick on top of your completed poster must have seemed like a no-brainer to get that license awarded. But it wasn't just that one. They had 3 others, a mix of different designs. Although, if you look at those now, there's a lot of black in them. They've got a lot of tone in them, and I'd say Frank's would be more fun to colour in than some of these that ended up being the official range. But they were produced obviously in the States, but they were sold around the world under different brands. So Palitoy, Parker Brothers in Canada, Meccano in France, Takara in Japan. So it was a worldwide endeavour, and they also went on to produce sort of craft sets and activities for all 3 movies in the original trilogy. So got a 3-movie deal there. So while Craftmaster Baxter got the license to produce packs with felt tips, maybe there was some wiggle room in there because Kenner were producing things that were packed with paints. So whether that was a distinction in the license agreement, I don't know, but there were a couple of sets released by Kenner under their Kenner Colour Corner sub-brand. So one of these was a slightly bigger 15 by 25 inch poster pack that were packed with plaints, which is a portmanteau of play paint, I presume. Very clever. And then, of course, the dip dots, which I'm going to include because even though they were smaller, I still think they're still things that people would have coloured in and put on their walls. So at that point, I think you get into colouring books and that's something different. But they both shared that really sort of trippy, simplistic 70s style of illustrations, which I absolutely adore. I love the... don't know whether everyone's familiar with the dip dots artwork, but it really is cool. I think these things are kind of quite cheap and easy wins for anybody who's got a license, and General Mills, who Kenner are obviously a part of, kind of seized the opportunity to pack posters into cereal boxes. So they had posters which were full colour on one side, but they had very, very similar kind of line work that kids would colour in and complete themselves on the reverse. And there's quite a lot when you start to dig into it, quite a lot of this material that tapped into that craze of the 70s. I remember doing these things all the time. They were everywhere in gift shops. You'd go to stately homes and places like that, museums, and they'd always have this poster tube with a few pens packed in, and it was a kind of nice, cheap, easy kind of souvenir you could take home. And, you know, I always had one of these on the go. I don't know if anyone else kind of did this back in the day.
I did, mate. I'm completely with you. I had these things all the time. Anything with a pack of pens in seemed to go through packs of felt tips like a knife through butter.
I agree with absolutely everything you say. I'm looking at the Talon ones now, and it's horrific how they've just ripped it off. As you say, it's not even a couple of changes. The Falcon, the TIE Fighter, everything. It's just, oh my word, why weren't they prosecuted or done over? I mean, you know, that's the most heinous of unlicensed bootlegs there are out there. It's so bad, it's brilliant. But moving down, what I love about your blog, I encourage people to go and see it because, yeah, you've got examples of absolutely everything here and what he's done in the past. But this is just where we're so, I don't know, fortunate to have you guys just full of such imagination. You've constructed the mock-up here. So you've said, what could have been? So the mock-up packaging for the Star Wars set. So what he's got with his original poster, which we've discussed, and you've put together what it could have looked like in the shops with a little header and a packet of pens. And then you've just digitally doodled away on one as well. So you've coloured one in, which, right, okay, so I'm a child with my felt tip pens, trying my hardest to keep in the lines, and that's why I'm not a designer. And you filled this out like it's some sort of book. It looks incredible. But then you roll down and see the one which has arrived, nice and flat, and you've got beautifully mounted and framed. And mate, that's awesome. I'm so delighted for you. I'm so pleased for you. It's a great story. It's a great tales, and it's a great blog. It's brilliant.
Just on the blog, Craig, I did read it last night. What was the his reaction? Because you mentioned that he found that someone had been copying it at a convention, and when he was there, he spotted there was copies of the print there. Did he give any indication of that when you was conversing with him? Was he annoyed or just pleased to see it?
I think I think he sort of took these as a sort of, look, you can have them, just, you know, don't kick up a fuss. You know, we did have quite a few kind of exchanges, and obviously the mystery of the TIE bomber took a fair chunk of that. But he was keen to come on and chat, but he said he had that much going on at the moment with his shop and sort of personal stuff that he said, look, just run with it, just tell the story, and just put some links at the end because I've got a few more to sell.
We need to have a chat. Mark's probably there going, we need to have a chat. Or no, Mark might have already had the chat. Mark, have you had the chat?
Not yet, mate, no. It's crossed my mind.
But you look at this, you know, you can see from that framed picture, that's an old piece of paper. It's quite yellowed, and, you know, it's got the look of something. I mean, I've been through college, I've been through the early days of my career, and I've kept everything, and you shove these things away in a portfolio with a little stack of them. And
Dan, you're not one who's a bit shy on doing some sort of group purchases, which turn out to be quite fortuitous for us, which we could have mentioned earlier on, because that was a result as well.
All of his links are at the end of the blog if you want to give Frank a shout, see if he's got any left.
Dan, me and Mark might have to have some sort of saving postage chat, because this could... I'm just looking at that now and looking at the white frame and surrounds, and I'm like, that is,
It is a beautiful image.
I look at it in comparison to do you mind? Did you say how much you paid for it? Sorry, I think you may have.
So it wasn't. It was reasonable. It was. I think I should design these vlogs better.
It was the postage that was the killer, wasn't it? I think originally.
So it was on for buy now at $55, and then it had the global shipping price, which was more than the item itself. It's an unusual thing, you know. We've all seen prototypes, unproduced things, toys all the time, but for things like this, the quirkier, beyond the toy stuff, it's few and far between. So it was just nice to come across something that was a bit different.
Say are out to fight the street people, those who are causing a lot of trouble anyway. And an order of knights out to fight the evils of space has cleared Times Square of some of the street people. The people are fans who have been jousting for days to see a movie. The knights are Jedi, the Star Wars type, and the movie is Return of the Jedi, Part 3 of the Star Wars trilogy. It finally opened to the public today. The film cost more than $32 million to make. The producers hope to get it all back, along with the profits, big profits rather. In the past, the Star Wars movies have performed satisfactorily in that sense.
Well, if it's a hit, it'll make money at the box office, and it'll make money elsewhere as well, in the sale of gadgets associated with the Jedi. That story we hear now from Josh Howell.
You're looking at the busiest aisle at the Toys R Us store in Paramus. Children are shopping eagerly for toys based on a movie they have not seen.
I have the book, and every guy's in here. I like the monsters the best. I really don't know that much about Star Wars, but I like it.
Tell me how well Star Wars toys in general sell.
Oh, they've done very well. I think they first came out in 1978, and the demand was incredible at that time.
Return of the Jedi sheets sell for $15.97. The Millennium Falcon spaceship sells for $34.97. The Jedi characters, the figures, sell for $2.68. Some of the toys are action toys. If your child gets one, you may have to take it away with force.
Don't move.
I beg your pardon?
Don't move.
Don't move. You're going to hit me with the...
I cut your hand off.
Children are buying the toys, of course, but so are older investors. They're buying Star Wars toys.
Right. In a couple of years, they'll be worth a lot of dough. Like a lot of other things.
You're buying them strictly as an investment?
Yes, definitely.
The movie opened today. The toys have been on sale all week. Josh Howell, Channel 7 Eyewitness News, Paramus.
Right then, guys. So for this final chapter, what we're going to be doing is, in the future, one of us is going to be choosing their top 5 of a certain topic, and then we're going to just bring a little bit of debate about stuff. And we thought we'd start this off, Dan, with yourself, because we're on a bit of a sticker theme because of the Palitoy Landspeeder. You were going to draw up your top 5 stickers.
That's right. So I've tried to avoid the kind of standard offers that were printed on the front of MOCs and go for something more in the vein of what was on the Landspeeder box that we were talking about earlier. So I've got my 5. I'll take you through each one, and you can let me know what you think. I've got a little bit of. I think they've all got a little bit of a backstory to them. They're not kind of standard fare. So the first one that I've got is a special offer, which includes ATAT driver. It's a rectangular sticker with a red border. Says special in big red letters, and there is a beautiful picture of an ATAT driver, the actual figure itself, not illustrated, on the front of I think it's an MTV7, and this sticker was part of the department store promotion that Kenner had when they were trying to push all the product into the department store. So we all know about the Sears Cantina with the blue snaggletooth and the triple pack figures, and this was all in line with those kinds of promotions. So yeah, I really like that because I love the ATAT driver. He's probably my favourite figure. If I had to focus on one, it would be the ATAT driver.
Yeah, is that an MTV7 he's on?
Yeah. So some really strange combinations in this. I don't know if you're aware of this promotion at all. I wasn't until I started looking for stickers. I've seen similar stickers before, but I think there was around 21 products that had, and they all had different stickers depending on what vehicle the figure, or there was some with backdrops and things like that were inserted in the box with the vehicle. And this MTV7 came with a baggied ATAT driver. Then the next one is a very similar figure, but it says special offer instead of just special, and it's got Darth Vader and the Stormtrooper Stormtrooper on it, and that's from that was on the front of a TIE Fighter box. Some of these are extremely rare. So when I was reading the post on SWCA, some of these stickers, they're only single-digit examples known. So they're extremely, extremely rare. We already know that with the triple packs, how much they can go to. Again, really down to the figures that are featured. Really, I'll pick my two favourites out: Vader and a Stormtrooper, standing prominent there. They look great, I think.
And looking at that Vader, mate, I mean, I love the AT-AT driver. That's nice, the way it's just standing there, and actually the figure is standing sort of almost 3D. It's outside, isn't it, of the sticker itself, because it's just, I think, going back to it, you can just see a foot, and the top of his helmet is just interfering with the actual racetrack around it, or the border of the sticker. So actually it makes it pop a little bit more. But going back to the Vader one, actually, rare as hen's teeth, but it looks like, and Vader looks like he's got a DT saber sticking out of his arm as well. Which is strange to me, because I thought the whole point of these stickers was to sort of clear extra stock, and when they're doing these special promotions, it's because they've got an ulterior motive. They've got stuff which they just want to push out. So why use stock photo of a DT Vader when that would have been very, very sort of early production, and then you would have just gone to the single.
Yeah, I think it was really the push it was more about pushing stuff into department stores and getting them on the shelves in there, rather and in Christmas catalogues and things like that, and giving people an extra incentive to go and shop there, because they did have the free figures. So I suppose it's a little bit different in that respect. But I just like the way that the actual figures are printed on the stickers, because everywhere else you look, and everywhere else, even the ones on front of the mocks, they rarely feature the actual figure. I think Anakin and the Emperor are probably the exceptions, but everything else tends to be an illustration or a kind of a call out with a message in it, rather than an actual picture of the figure itself.
Well, it's a 4-colour print. That is a swanky danky sticker, isn't it? I'm getting some strong German flag vibes from that colour scheme as well.
Yeah, 100%.
And I've always wanted a free pack, and I love the kind of aesthetic of those, and I think they look great. And I'd never noticed before that the special offer written on these is in the same font as on those free packs.
Oh, yeah, you got me looking at mine now, and you're absolutely right. Yeah.
And then the next one then was the Clipper promotion. I think we're all familiar with this sticker. I just really like it. I've always wanted one. I don't own one. And just reading up on them, I think just because there was such a prevalence of Kenner and Palitoy cards out in Holland, they had to slap these stickers on straight over the back of all the English text just to get their message out in Dutch. So this was an offer for all the things we're familiar with, really. I think for all the different various promotions we had on the Palitoy and Kenner cards. So there's an Akbar, a 9-num on there, nice illustrations of them, the survival pack, the Chewie bandolier, and the Vader carry case. I don't know what the translation says, but I'm assuming you send in nameplates or proof of purchases and claim those items.
I love this example you've got there with just the word Leicester just poking out from underneath the bottom.
Yeah, there's a theme here with Kenner cards out in Holland, so we'll probably talk about that more in a moment. So that was my third choice, and then my next one is the transition sticker, the Canadian transition. So when they were moving away from Empire and into Return of the Jedi, the Canadians had the excellent idea of just slapping a Return of the Jedi logo over the Empire one. But the thing I like about this one, and I think Mark will appreciate this, is that if you look at the Return of the Jedi logo on a regular mock, it's only got one racetrack, but this one's got the double racetrack, much more in line with the Empire logo. And we've talked quite a bit, I think, on other podcasts about the Return of the Jedi logo and some of the modern lines where they're creating similar logos for the Mandalorian and Rogue One. But it's not quite there, but I think it looks better than the existing Return of the Jedi logo. That's a favourite of mine. Have you got any thoughts on that one, Mark?
I have, and I totally agree with you, mate. It's as close to an Empire logo as you're probably going to get with the Jedi card, isn't it?
Yeah.
Although there is just a tiny bit of wasted space on the left and right, isn't it? Just in a tiny bit.
So that was my third choice, and then my final one. And I've put a couple of examples in it because I actually used to own this. I had a card back, and I had to drive a card back with this sticker on. And it's actually the same Boba Fett image that's on the Palitoy Landspeeder that we were looking at previously. So it's the same Boba Fett drawing, which I think is a derivative of the Palitoy one that we see in all the adverts for when they were doing the bounty hunter ads Fetts in all the comic books back in the 80s. So yeah, it's an offer for a free Boba Fett that expired on the 31st of December 1981. That's as far as my Dutch goes, but I just really like the image.
You've counted through them. I love it. Going back to the transition one, you want one, yeah, that's definitely on the hit list. I think it might have been our good friend Grant who got one at Celebration and found it just on a booth where it was just amongst all of the other carded figures, and he got it and he took it away, and you know, a great price for such a cool card back with a nice little bit of history. And again, it's that sort of history which I think is so cool for those ones. But yeah, the Fett one, your Dutch is just the same standard as mine. But yeah, that Fett pose is just brilliant. There are some great sticker choices.
I have to say, when I saw this come through on the show notes, I thought I'm really going to have to dig deep and feign interest in this in this topic. But you've sold me, Dan. It's great. I was just really, really interested to see. It's not something I've ever paid that much attention to. But yeah, I can see why these are really appealing to focus collectors and vehicle collectors and boxes. And yeah, it's great.
I suppose the trouble, because I've got the example there of the ATAT driver one that I had. I don't own that anymore, and it's really just displaying them, because all these things tend to be on boxes or on the backs of card backs, and you know, how do you display that? You know, I could have just put it in a proof case and had it with its front facing the wall and have the sticker out, but it wasn't really something that's very displayable, I didn't think. So yeah, I let that go and swapped it for a Lily Leddy card, Rancor keeper of all of them. I kind of wish I hadn't now, but I think it's a great looking sticker.
You've got me interested now, because you know, I'm looking at stickers which I think, this has got my interest. But so I've got a beta, it's rough as creature set. So Star Wars 3-pack special action figure set 3-pack, which is Hammerhead, Walrus Man and Greedo. And you said about the sticker there for the Vader and the Stormtrooper one being very, very similar to what you get on the 3-pack. And it's the first time I've actually studied this top corner as closely as I have. Not actually a sticker, is it? It's printed onto the card in this case. So it looks like it's a sticker applied on top of the racetrack. But no, it's original straight into the card, which, there we go. So it doesn't classify as a sticker per se, but there we go. Looks like it. So, Mark, this is Dan's opinion, so it doesn't matter whether or not you agree with it or not. But I mean, what's he missing? What would you have chosen in a top 5? Are there any other stickers? Would you think, yeah, that's Mark's?
There's only one sticker really that, other than what Dan's mentioned now. I mean, the special offer, the Kenner special offer ones with the figures, they're fantastic. And I agree with all of Dan's choices. But there's one that always really stands out to me that just makes a card back look infinitely cool. And I think it might have been Wayne Totty posted on Echo Base. Might have been Echo Base. It was a Palitoy, no, not a Palitoy, sorry, a Clipper R2D2 on a 45 back, and it had got the Clipper logo as a sticker at a slight angle, and it got the Parker Games logo where it's got that swirl, and it's got the word Clipper underneath. I'll have to try and dig a picture out of it. It looks really cool.
Yeah. A lot going on that card.
As far as I know, I think that's the only time that logo ever appears on a card like that. I don't think it ever appears on anything else. I might be proven wrong, but from what I can remember, that's the only time I've ever seen that sticker appear on a card back. Yeah, that's the only one I would sort of add into the mix, as it were.
When this came through on the show notes, I think the only sort of on-box sticker that I have any affinity with, really, is the little Palitoy sticker that goes over the Kenner logo on the TIE Fighter box. It's not a thing of beauty by any stretch, but the fact that it's there just makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside that TIE Fighter came out of Leicester.
Can you imagine assigned that job? Here's 2,000 stickers. We want you to post. We want you to stick them on every single one of those TIE Fighter boxes there, mate. It's got to be done by lunchtime, so get moving.
It's designing them, though, isn't it? We need the logo on there. Oh yeah, we better put the address. We need the catalogue number. Oh, hang on, the batteries are different as well. Can you put that on as well?
Yeah,
it's all there.
It's a design classic.
I knew someone that used to work at a place where they produced DVDs, and someone forgot to put the film classification certificate on the artwork. So someone had to get a load of 18 certificates and put 3 of them on, one on the spine, one on the front, one on the back, and do it God knows how many 100,000 times. So is that Landspeeder, that sticker on that box? Then is that the only example of a sticker like that? I mean, I'm not talking about that exact one, but any other kind of graphics being used being applied to card backs or boxes? Is that the only one?
That sticker that size, that's the only one on a Landspeeder box that's been seen.
From my point of view, I've mentioned in the past how there's a particular card back which I love, which was the Kenner 48C, because there was so much which I really, really appreciated on that, because it had the Revenge sticker on the front, and on the rear it was really, from my point of view, it was really aesthetically pleasing because it was different to so many others, because it was bright blue borders surrounding all of the figures. So it was just something different about that card. So the one which I love then, and I'm bringing to this whole sticker debate, is one which is referred to as the Kenner. I feel like I'm a right train spotter here. I'm going to be talking about the Kenner 48E, which is actually a Palitoy release. It's technically the 48C, which I said I've always loved, the Revenge one, but with a Palitoy sticker displaying the correct Palitoy mail-away offer for the Admiral Akbar offer, which is on the card. So Kenner card proving that Kenner cards were, for sale in the UK, but with the Palitoy address on it. So for me, that ticks all of the boxes. I really want to get a 48C carded figure. I don't have any 48C carded figures, but to get one which has got that Palitoy sticker on the rear, making it 48E, I mean, I'm sure again they're as rare as hen's teeth, but for me that's such a great carded figure. And at the time when I really got into Star Wars as a kid,
there is something about that Revenge, isn't there? I've got posters with Revenge banners on them, and I've got a few of that. I don't think I've got that specific one, but I've got a few with the Revenge on it, and it always feels like it's a bit special because it's a different title to the movie that was released.
Absolutely. Again, this whole sort of, when people come around, you're like, oh yeah, the Revenge, it was, Return of the Jedi was originally going to get called Revenge of the Jedi. People are like, really, what? You're like, yeah, check out, So you would ordinarily see it with, a proof card or something like that. So for you to be able to have a carded figure with Revenge on, to me is a treat. It's great, and yeah, ticks all the boxes. I absolutely love it. Well, cheers for that section, Dan. Yeah, really, really nice. And we'll have to pull straws for who's going to go next time.
It's new Zuckers, 4 LOM, an Imperial TIE Fighter pilot, 3 of 48 action figures from Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back collection, each sold separately. And now, from Star Wars' new Revenge of the Jedi collection, it's Admiral Akbar, not yet available in any store, but free with 6 proofs of purchase from any Star Wars action figures. Details on specially marked packs at participating stores. Offer expires January 31st, 1983. New 4 LOM, Zuckers, Imperial TIE Fighter pilot, and other action figures, each sold separately from Kenner Star Wars.
So guys, it's nearly bringing us to the end of this episode.
I'm drawing to the end of putting together, this is niche, every piece of Star Wars content in vintage-looking magazines.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
So that's covers, the pin-ups, so they did a series of full-page pin-ups of actors, a couple of ones where they've got just small articles about special effects, things like that. And I found a couple of annuals last night, which the listings had no mentions of Star Wars. So there's a dirty, great big picture of Han Solo on the cover of one of the, I think about 1985. That's like drawing to the close of the height of Star Wars. But yeah, so when that's put together, I'll be doing something with it, probably blog shape.
Nice. Looking magazine, that takes me back. That's definitely something which I would be interested, mate. So I will definitely be watching that. That's that's nostalgia in a bag. That is brilliant.
The artwork for the covers was just unbelievable on looking, wasn't it? I mean, they really did knock it out of the park with the artist on those.
He was an Italian guy, wasn't he? And I think he did like Carry On film posters and things like that. He was quite an artist of some repute. What's really been interesting about it is it's put in Star Wars in a real context. It's usually we collect things in isolation. It's a Star Wars thing. This is kind of broader, so it's Star Wars and Cannon and Ball.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just thinking that because might be people going, what on earth are you talking about? What's Looking magazine? So yeah. Looking was weekly, wasn't it?
Yeah, and
I think the American market had stuff like bananas or or what was the other one? Hot Dog was the other magazine. It was a kind of like teen magazine, wasn't it? But slightly older children, and it was like TV and comic strips and letters and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I remember like California Highway Patrol on the front, and then you'd have pop groups and posters, Duran Duran 5-star, you name it. Yeah, awesome.
Chips, Incredible Hulk.
Yeah. Hopefully a little bit of Fat Larry's band, because you just can't beat Zoom. I played it twice this morning. I tell you now, right, if ever you're in a bad mood, just put Fat Larry's band on Zoom, and it'll just lift your spirits. It will lift you up, guys.
I'm sure there's lots of adverts for Zoom lollies.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. But yeah, love a bit of Zoom. Yeah, Brill. Lads, it's been brilliant, and hopefully our listeners have enjoyed playing along with us and seeing the games at the beginning and all sorts of stuff like that. And please be sure to check out our YouTube channel, where Craig has been working so hard to get all of our shows being enhanced and putting them on there. Got on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. And, please just get involved, get amongst it. You have a part to play as well. We say that we're Generation Skywalker. We're all Generation Skywalker, and it'd be great to see people getting involved and giving comments or feedback or disagreeing with some of the things what we've got to say. And, if anyone's got any other Dan stickers, for example, if someone else is like, no, guys, you got it wrong, you've completely missed the point. What about this sticker? That's what we want to see. That's the interaction which we love. So please get involved. If you've got a spare 30 seconds or so, please chuck us a review, preferably a complimentary one on Podbean or Spotify. And I was looking earlier on that we might also be able to get ourselves on Amazon podcasts as well, because I know Amazon are now launching. So no, that's awesome. And obviously the website, www.generationskywalker.com, and Craig's latest blog is on there. And email, if you need to contact us on email or send a message to Stu saying, for heaven's sake, come back quickly, is generationskywalker@gmail.com. So thanks ever so much, lads, for getting involved tonight. I guess it's time to say goodbye. So, Mark?
Good night.
Straightforward, love it. Craig?
Cheerio.
Dan?
Up the custard people, guys, if you want to call them.
Indeed. And we're all looking forward to when Stu can join us again for the next episode of Those Old Fossils. Stu, mate, I know you've got a lot on your plate right now, and we're looking forward to welcoming you back to our ample bosom. But until then, we are Generation Skywalker.